In ancient Greece, there existed a group called the Seven Sages. These noble men, each specialist in their own field, were celebrated for their exceptional wisdom, leadership abilities, and contribution to early Western thought. Originating from diverse polis across ancient Greece, they epitomized the Greek ideal of arete, excellence in both thought and action. Their teachings, carved into the sacred walls of the Temple of Apollo at Delphi, transcended mere personal conduct, shaping the very foundations of Greek law, governance, and philosophy. The 7th and 6th centuries BC, characterized by the rise of independent city-states, witnessed a transformative era in which oral traditions gave way to written laws and the birth of democratic ideals. In the midst of this intellectual awakening, the Seven Sages emerged as polymaths and contributed to ethics, politics, law, and science. In a country beset by conflict and social upheaval, their wisdom served as a guide and illustrated the need for strong leadership and wise governance at a time that would determine the course of ancient Greek history. The list of the Seven Sages includes Solon of Athens, Chilon of Sparta, Thales of Miletus, Bias of Priene, Cleobulus of Lindos, Pittacus of Mytilene, and Periander of Corinth. First, let's talk about Solon of Athens. Solon was born into a wealthy Athenian family. His wisdom, his eloquence, and his strong commitment to justice helped him to achieve rapid fame. His rise came at a critical time in Athens' existence, which was characterized by economic hardship and social polarization. Income inequality between rich and poor had reached unsustainable levels, and unrest loomed on the horizon. In 594 BC, Solon ran for the office of Archon, the supreme judge. His task was to implement reforms to the legal system aimed at equalizing opportunities while giving citizens participatory rights that would allay their fears or mistrust of rulers who seemed more compliant than accommodating. Solon's reforms were revolutionary in every sense of the word. He eliminated the draconian laws that had been enforced before, which were so egregious they were alleged to have been composed with bloodstains. Instead of them, he devised a set of legislative codes aimed at equalizing the opportunities and empowering the ordinary citizens to participate in decision-making. One of his remarkable initiatives was the exemption of debts and liberation of those Athenians who were in bondage because they owed money. The implementation of these measures aimed not only to uphold social justice, but also to retain the societal structure of Athens, suggesting a pragmatic approach. Solon comprehended that a fragmented society could not endure. Thus, he formulated laws to cultivate solidarity and reciprocal regard among the populace. Next up is Chilon of Sparta, who takes a different but harmonious view compared to Solon's Athenian philosophy. As an important Spartan and member of the Spartan Senate, Chilon's existence and leadership were profoundly influenced by the extraordinary social and political situation of Sparta. The city-state is celebrated for its military supremacy and its simple way of life. Unlike Athens, which was moving towards the principles of democracy and freedom of speech, Sparta adhered to a firm oligarchy based on regimentation, social rank, and military prowess. In this environment, Chilon gained fame not only as a politician, but also as a moral philosopher. His maxims and sayings were specifically aimed at strengthening the Spartan way of life. Chilon was not only a prominent figure in philosophy, he was also of great importance in the political landscape of Sparta. He was credited with improving the Ephorate, a governing body of 5 elected officials that held considerable authority in Spartan governance. The political organization acted as a check against the dual monarchy that ruled Sparta and prevented any single entity from gaining unbridled power. Chilon believed in balance and moderation, which was reflected in his contributions to the Ephorate. His famous saying, "Do not desire the impossible," also summed up these principles. Chilon believed that Sparta's stability and strength were rooted in its balance-based governmental structure, in which authority was divided among different authorities to ensure proper control. Next is Thales of Miletus. Thales was born in the city-state of Miletus, an active center of trade and civilization in Ionia. As a result, he was exposed to a wide range of concepts and ways of thinking from an early age. While Solon was dedicated to law and governance, and Chilon emphasized social discipline, Thales is remembered primarily for his influence on natural philosophy, a field that is now recognized as a science. He was one of the pioneers who proposed that natural phenomena could be understood through universal and identifiable principles, which differed significantly from the widely held view that these phenomena were caused by divine intervention. Thales is known for claiming that all things are primarily made of water. Although this idea may seem simple to today's readers, it was innovative in its time. Thales proposed the idea that a single constituent could serve as the basis for all that exists, introducing an overarching principle that explained the intricacies of nature. Thales' theories were not only speculative, but he was famous for applying them practically. Several advances in geometry and astronomy, including the prediction of a solar eclipse, are attributed to him. The essence of his wisdom is characterized by a combination of theoretical insight and practical ingenuity, which he demonstrated through his ability to use abstract principles to solve real-world problems. The fourth sage is Bias of Priene. Bias, who came from the city-state of Priene in Ionia, became famous for his exceptional moral integrity and impartial nature. Bias's fame differed from that of Thales, who focused on natural philosophy, and Solon and Chelon, whose focus was deeply rooted in governance. Bias gained recognition primarily for his ethical leadership qualities and his ability to resolve conflicts effectively. In a culture where the transmission of wisdom through oral tradition and storytelling prevailed, Bias excelled as an orator whose utterances had the power to captivate and soothe the innermost being. Bias was often summoned to settle complicated legal disputes, and his judgments were known for their impartiality and wisdom. Although it may seem cynical at first glance, "most people are bad" is one of his most famous sayings, and represents a deeper understanding of human nature and the subtleties of ethics. Bias recognized that people tend to make mistakes, and that this can lead to significant obstacles in areas such as law and governance. The reason for his wisdom was his ability to maneuver through such complicated situations while upholding the principles of justice and equality. He was more than just a champion of justice. He took on the role of a teacher, using his position to impart ethical and moral principles to those around him. The fifth sage is Cleobulus of Lindos. Cleobulus, who came from the city of Lindos, was a native of the island of Rhodes. Cleobulus was not only a handsome face, admired for his physical prowess and good looks. He also possessed the intellect of a philosopher, the skill of a statesman, and the finesse of an accomplished writer. Unlike other sages, who were heavily involved in the governmental and legal structures of their own autonomous regions, Cleobulus ruled Lindos as a tyrant. Nevertheless, his remarkable balance and wisdom as a leader won him great admiration. He ruled with a strong belief in balance, which was reflected in his famous saying, "The best thing is to practice moderation." Moderation was not only a fundamental principle for Cleobulus's rule, but permeated his entire philosophy as a holistic approach to all aspects of life. His reputation rested on his mastery of riddles and poetry. He often used these creative forms of expression to teach the virtues of equanimity and moderation. These activities were not simply recreational pursuits, but teaching tools designed to foster intellectual growth and cultivate ethical values in his community. According to Cleobulus, wisdom was not just an intellectual pursuit, but also involved achieving a balance between the physical, intellectual, and spiritual dimensions of a person as a way of life. His approach to wisdom was all-encompassing, as demonstrated by his style of governance, that aimed to promote a society in which individuals could thrive in terms of their physical and emotional well-being. Next sage is Pittacus from Mytilene. He was not only a thinker, but also an active participant. He was celebrated as a military leader for his role in the defense of Mytilene against the Athenians. His brilliant battlefield strategy was paired with his intelligent governance. Pittacus served as ruler of Mytilene and implemented reforms aimed at greater fairness in society. A maxim he is said to have stated, "Know the right moment," sums up well what drives him to action, be it in politics or war. During Pittacus' time in office, emphasis was placed on social justice and legal reforms. A law that introduced harsher penalties for those who had committed crimes under the influence of alcohol was attributed to him. This law thus reflected a deeper understanding of personal responsibility and ethical behavior, rather than being itself just another punitive measure. Accordingly, maintaining the moral integrity of citizens in Pittacus' belief system lay primarily in maintaining social stability. This explains why laws were created primarily to cultivate these virtues among citizens, and not just to consolidate power. However, in line with the leadership principles he had adopted during his tenure, he retained another famous saying, which goes as follows: "It's hard to be good." The seventh sage is Periander of Corinth. Periander, a member of the seven sages in ancient Greece, remains one of the most controversial figures among them. In contrast to his colleagues, who were praised for their wise and just leadership qualities, Periander was considered a tyrant whose style was characterized by both just policies and harsh tactics. As ruler of Corinth, which had significant strategic influence, he inherited immense power. The city flourished under his rule as trade prospered due to its privileged location between two seas. However, his rule was also characterized by authoritarian measures aimed at consolidating control. These included famous maxims such as foresight in all things. The complexity of Periander's approach is evident, as he valued intellectuals and artists who thrived in a cultured environment, but at the same time enforced repressive measures against the noble classes or through a heavy tax system against the citizens at large, although these contradictory behaviors maintained public wealth and the stability of the government in general. This balance between tyrannical oppression and enlightenment provoked many mixed reactions from those around him. Admiration and criticism based equally on opinions of how to categorize this ruling figure today, after so much time has passed. The Temple of Delphi, situated in the middle of the rough terrain on Mount Parnassus, was a sacred place in ancient Greece. It served as an important spiritual center where people sought advice from Apollo's mouthpiece, the oracle. In addition to prophecies, the temple also served as a repository for timeless knowledge within its walls, including sayings of the 7 sages. These sayings, such as "know thyself" and "nothing in excess," were not just simple words, but became cornerstones of Greek philosophy that reached far beyond time. By engraving these principles in the temple, their wisdom became a divine guide not only for individuals striving for morality, but also for statesmen who shaped society, with such enduring values borrowed from antiquity. The legacy of the 7 sages transcends the boundaries of Western society and offers insights that are universally applicable when addressing fundamental human concerns today. Their maxims include self-governance, social justice, and the pursuit of knowledge, and resonate across cultures and societies. These ethical guideposts have been incorporated into religious texts, legal codes, and curricula, offering invaluable wisdom for navigating the complexities of modern life despite technological advances. These ancient aphorisms, which reveal the timeless knowledge of the 7 sages, resonate across generations and civilizations. If you enjoyed this quest for wisdom, please subscribe to my channel for access to more journeys that dive deep into wisdom and connect history to today's world.